Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. MEA denies new developments at the face-off site in Doklam, rubbishes reports about military build-up on the Chinese side. Centre tightens noose on unlisted shell companies, seeks state government's help in identifying and tracking properties of such companies. If Pakistan fails to act against terrorists, US will get it done in a different way, warns US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Says America wants decisive action against terror havens in Pakistan. And Spanish Senate set to vote on unprecedented plans to take control of Catalonia. Prime Minister Rajoy vows to remove the region's elected leaders as soon as possible and hold new elections. Well, the Ministry of External Affairs has denied reports of new developments at the face-off site in Doklam, rubbishing reports about an alleged Chinese military build-up in the area and its vicinity. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ravish Kumar said that status quo prevails in Doklam since the disengagement on August 28th. India and China were locked in a 73-day-long standoff in Doklam starting June 16th after India stopped the building of a road in the disputed area by the Chinese army.
Not to paint an alarmist picture, from what I can make out, this particular news report refers to alleged Chinese build-up well within China. I would like to reiterate that there are no new developments at the face-off site and its vicinity. The August 28th disengagement, the status quo prevails in this area. Any suggestion to the contrary is incorrect and mischievous.
The centre has sought help from state governments in identifying and tracking properties belonging to shell companies. The centre has insisted that the process of identification of such properties needs to be completed at the earliest and requisite information be shared with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in a time-bound manner.
Cracking the whip on shell companies, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has sought the response of state governments for identification and tracking of properties belonging to these unlisted companies. The said properties were struck off the records of Registrar of Companies earlier this year. On Thursday, a high-level meeting was organized to discuss the follow-up action by states on properties belonging to over 2 lakh shell companies.
आज आप फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करते हैं, ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस की बात करते हैं. अगर कंपनीज रिलायबल नहीं है, अगर उनको क्रेडिबिलिटी नहीं है, अगर वो शेल कंपनीज हैं, तो उसका मतलब क्या हुआ? मतलब ये हो कल को कोई भी आदमी आपके कंट्री में इन्वेस्ट करने से 3 बार सोचेगा कहीं ये कंपनी रिलायबल है या नहीं है, वो इन्वेस्टमेंट कैसे करेगा. तो ये एक बहुत ही सीरियस इशू है और इसके ऊपर तो तुरंत और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कार्रवाई की जानी चाहिए.
The efforts are a part of the government's move to crack down on dubious companies. The Corporate Affairs Ministry is probing deposits of over $1 billion made by around 20,000 companies during the cash ban last year. Even as its Serious Fraud Investigation Office is investigating more than 1,500 companies for allegedly violating the Companies Act. It is examining another 809 listed companies found untraceable by SEBI to check the status and existence of their offices and directors. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Central Board of Direct Taxes will jointly investigate such shell companies by sharing data. The directors of the shell companies will face restrictions from taking up similar positions at other companies. The government is conducting massive data mining exercise to trail the ultimate beneficiaries of these shell companies. Using data analytics and artificial intelligence, the information that will be collected would be used to track down and punish the offenders. And experts feel with this crackdown, billions could be unearthed. Reporting from Delhi with camera person Narayan, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, President Ramnath Kovind is in Kerala for a 2-day visit. During the visit, the President laid the foundation stone for the first government IT building at Techno City. Technocity is part of the fourth phase of extension of Technopark in Thiruvananthapuram, which is expected to generate 1 lakh IT jobs in the near future. After the event, President will pay tributes at the Ayankali statue, and he later will attend the public reception hosted by the state government in Tagore Theatre. On October 28th, the President will travel to Kochi to grace the valedictory function of the Diamond Jubilee celebrations at the High Court of Kerala.
Kerala has also become known for its strength in the services sector and the knowledge economy. The future of our economy and of our employment creation is heavily dependent on the success we achieve with Digital India. The jobs of tomorrow will come more and more from digital services and other opportunities that are derived from the internet. Kerala is potentially a powerhouse of Digital India. It is one of India's most connected states with among the highest rates of mobile phone penetration.
Well, in a stern message to Pakistan, the United States has asked the country to take decisive action against terror groups. The Trump administration has said that if Pakistan fails to act against terror, the US will adjust its tactics and strategies to deal with the issue. US State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert has said that Pakistan should dismantle terrorists' safe havens on its soil. He also said that the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has put the US's expectations before Pakistan leadership during his visit to Islamabad on Wednesday. US's message to Pakistan comes a day after Pakistan Foreign Minister Khwaja Asif said that his country will neither surrender to the US nor compromise on its sovereignty. He had also denied having received a terrorist wish list from the United States. Tillerson said at a news conference in Geneva after wrapping up his maiden trip to Afghanistan, Pakistan and India. Here's what we need for Pakistan to do. We are asking you to do this. We are not demanding anything. You're a sovereign country. You'll decide what you want to do. But understand this is what we think is necessary. And if you don't want to do that, don't feel you can do it. We'll adjust our tactics and our strategies to achieve the same objective a different way. Well, visiting Defence Minister of France, Florence Parly, held wide-ranging talks with her counterpart Nirmala Sitharaman today. The talks were aimed at boosting defence and security ties, focusing on co-development of military platforms and enhancing cooperation in the maritime sphere. Both leaders also discussed the regional security situation and transfer of critical technology for defence projects. Parly is on a two-day visit to India and will call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and meet National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. She is also likely to push for a follow-on order of additional Rafale fighter jets after the delivery of 36 jets under a 58,000 crore rupee deal was finalized last year. There's a roundup of what else is making news across the country in Nationwide. The Supreme Court today stayed its order directing demolition of a multi-level car parking being built near the iconic Taj Mahal and asked the Uttar Pradesh government to submit a comprehensive policy on preservation and pollution in the Taj trapezium zone. The apex court said that no further construction would be carried out there. The Supreme Court today called the blue whale challenge a national problem. The court also directed state-run Doordarshan and private TV channels to help create awareness by telecasting the dangers of the game in their primetime programs. Also, the central government told the Supreme Court that it had set up an expert committee to look into the issue and will be filing a report within 3 weeks. A 24-year-old girl, Hadia, whose conversion to Islam and subsequent marriage to a Muslim man has rocked Kerala, is now heard pleading in a video to be freed from her paternal home. In the brief video, Hadia is heard saying that she needs to be taken out as she fears for her life. The video is incomplete and was reportedly taken on August 7th at Vaikom in Kottayam district, where she currently resides with her parents. A senior journalist, Vinod Verma, was arrested today on charges of allegedly blackmailing a BJP leader in Chhattisgarh. On the other hand, Verma denied the charge and said he was being framed. According to the sources, the Chhattisgarh police raided the journalist's residence at Indrapuram along with the Uttar Pradesh police and recovered 500 CDs, a pen drive and 2 lakh rupees in cash. It's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Sahib, the centuries-old gurudwara constructed in the memory of Guru Nanak. According to a local legend, once a wicked demon lived in the area who terrorized the people. It is said that Guru heard their woes and came to their aid. The demon got into a rage and decided to kill Guru Nanak Dev with a huge patthar or the boulder. But when it touched the Guru's body, it softened like a warm wax. The local lamas have held the patthar sacred since then and offer prayers to it.
Malnutrition causes a massive brain developmental disorder. That's a big challenge of this country. India, we have a couple of challenges for the brain disorders. And India also, we are planning to start some point a very big program in neuroscience or brain research.
Okay.
And Department of Biotechnology is very interested, enthusiastic about that. Cyclin. It's a 4th generation tetracycline. We have showed in the animal model, it's a very useful for Japanese encephalitis virus.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Anirban Basu, Senior Scientist, National Brain Research Centre, Manesar, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Rajo ki Baoli, located in Mehroli, is considered the most ornamental of Baolis in the national capital. It was built by Daulat Khan during the reign of Sikandar Lodhi in 1516. Rajon refers to masons who used it. The entire structure is subterranean, so only the topmost story is visible as the visitor approaches. Walk towards its steps and each lower level slowly reveals itself. The top floor has a row of arched niches. There are 3 levels going down with 66 steps. The Baoli complex has a 12-pillar tomb and a mosque with plaster decoration on it. Carved brackets support the chhajja below the parapet. There are rooms behind this arcade, meant for shade and shelter for visitors. The Baoli combines Islamic architecture with hints of Hindu engravings and geometric designs.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy has called on senators to approve direct rule over Catalonia amid an escalating crisis over the region's push for independence. He said he wanted to dismiss Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont, his vice president and all regional ministers. While protests continue in Barcelona, there is uncertainty across Catalonia. Here's a report.
Spain has prepared to impose direct rule in Catalonia, an unprecedented step that risks sparking unrest with secessionists who are calling on the Catalan parliament to make a defiant declaration of independence. The upper house of Spain's parliament, the Senate, convened a meeting on Friday to consider the government's application of Article 155 of the Constitution that allows the central administration to take over a region when it breaks the law.
En suma, señorías, lo que aquí se debate hoy es si ha llegado el momento de que se imponga la ley por encima de cualquier otra consideración. No contra Cataluña, sino para impedir que se abuse de Cataluña.
But there was great uncertainty over how this would work on the ground and whether Catalans would accept it. Some independent supporters have promised a campaign of civil disobedience.
Yo pido independencia ya. No podemos estar con un Estado que nos está oprimiendo como nos está oprimiendo el Estado español.
The crisis has split Catalonia and caused deep resentment around Spain.
La política en Cataluña es imprevisible, es una montaña rusa, sube y baja, y puede pasar cualquier cosa, pero me resulta bastante complicado pensar que el presidente de la Generalitat recupere el sentido común y el equilibrio institucional.
Bueno, me siento un poco con incertidumbre porque no sé muy bien cuál va a ser el destino final y pienso que la situación pues está muy tensa y no sé bien cuál será el resultado final. Espero que sea el consenso.
Pues me parece que es todo como un lío de diretes y haré y luego desharé y parece que hay mucha confusión y realmente no sé por dónde van a terminar nuestros políticos.
But Prime Minister Rajoy assured that the Spanish government will keep the aspirations of Catalonia in mind and ensure measures which would benefit all.
En que lejos de egoísmos de partido, cálculos electorales, inclinaciones ideológicas o pequeñas mezquindades, sepamos ofrecer un gesto y dar una respuesta que esté a la altura de lo que esperan de nosotros todos los españoles.
Catalonia's president Carles Puigdemont had out a snap regional election, saying it was up to its parliament to act on a mandate to break from Spain following an independence referendum on the 1st of October. The referendum, which drew only a 43% turnout, was declared illegal by Madrid, and national police used heavy-handed tactics to try to stop it. Puigdemont made an ambitious declaration of independence on the 10th of October, which he immediately suspended to allow for talks with the government. But no discussions were held, and Puigdemont later spurned an invitation to appear before the Senate to explain his position. What could happen in the regional parliament of Catalonia is still unclear. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Donald Trump has approved the release of nearly 3,000 secret files related to the assassination of former US President John F. Kennedy. President Trump, however, withheld a few sensitive records to protect military and intelligence operations. In 1992, the United States Congress had ordered that all records relating to the investigation into Kennedy's death should be open to the public and had set a final deadline of October 26, 2017. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated on November 22, 1963 during a motorcade in Dallas. Thailand's late King Bhumibol Adulyadej was cremated in an elaborate Buddhist ceremony in the Thai capital of Bangkok on Thursday night. Hundreds of thousands of black-clad mourners from across the country and around the world attended the royal cremation ceremony to pay their last respects. The cremation marked the end of a year of mourning since King Bhumibol Adulyadej passed away last October at the age of 88. He was succeeded by his only son, King Maha, who was named Crown Prince in 1972. King Bhumibol, also known as King Rama IX, was the world's longest reigning monarch, ruling Thailand for 70 years. He played a pivotal role in maintaining stability during years of political upheaval and rapid development. Well, here's a roundup of some of the news from across the world in Global Buzz. US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis emphasized on diplomatic efforts instead of military ones to resolve the crisis with North Korea. Mattis, who is on a two-day trip to South Korea, held a meeting with South Korean President Moon Jae-in, who praised the aggressive deployment of US strategic assets on the Korean peninsula. Mattis visited the tense and heavily fortified border between North and South Korea and said, "Our goal is not war." His remarks came just before US President Donald Trump's first trip to Asia next week. Australia's High Court ruled that Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce is ineligible to remain in Parliament. It was a decision that cost the government its one-seat parliamentary majority and forced a by-election. Joyce said he would stand in the by-election, which is likely to be held in early December. Joyce was one of 7 politicians whose eligibility to sit in Parliament was in doubt when it was found that they were dual citizens, which bars them from being elected to the national parliament under Australia's constitution. Russia conducted test launches of nuclear-capable ballistic missiles as part of a training exercise for the country's strategic nuclear forces. The Interfax news agency reported that Vladimir Putin has personally overseen the launch of 4 nuclear-capable ballistic missiles as part of a training exercise for Russia's strategic nuclear forces. Russia's defense ministry said that the test launches involved land, air and submarine-based ballistic missiles. China urged the United States not to permit Taiwan's president to travel through U.S. territory en route to the island's diplomatic allies in the Pacific. The request comes just ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's trip to Beijing. China considers Democratic Taiwan to be wayward province ineligible for state-to-state relations and has never renounced the use of force to bring the island under its control. China has regularly called Taiwan as the most sensitive and important issue between it and the United States. Meanwhile, there's much talk about a strategic partnership brewing between India, Japan, Australia and the United States. Now, India has begun sharpening its alliance diplomacy in the Asia-Pacific region. Days after Chinese President Xi Jinping asked the Chinese army to be combat ready, India has hinted that alliance talks for a quadrilateral forum between India, Japan, US and Australia is on the cards.
India is open to proposals of working with Japan, US and Australia as suggested by Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono on Thursday. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ravish Kumar said this will be done keeping in view India's interests in the region.
India is open to working with like-minded countries on issues that advance our interests and promote our viewpoint. We are not rigid in this regard. As far as we are concerned, we have an open mind to cooperate with countries, with convergence, but obviously on an agenda which is relevant to us.
Indian assent to the quadrilateral comes close on the heels of Chinese President Xi Jinping hardening his stance as far as regional overreach is concerned. Reaching out to Pakistan on Thursday, China had praised its actions against terrorists, even as the US and India asked Pakistan to do more.
There are a number of such initiatives which we are part of. For example, we did the trilateral meeting with Russia and China last year, and this was on the topic of Asia-Pacific. We also do an India, Sri Lanka, Maldives trilateral on security matters.
Accepting a proposal of a quadrilateral is a new strategy for India. How it pans out in the future remains to be seen.
It is a signal to China that India will not restrain itself diplomatically if China persists on its old policies towards India. Indeed, Chinese policies are hostile towards India, and India wants to respond in the same way. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Manoj in Delhi.
Let's shift focus now and bring you up to speed with some news from the world of sports and Sports Beat. Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Kidambi Shrikant, HS Pranoy advanced to the quarterfinals of the French Open Super Series tournament in Paris. Pranoy defeated Denmark's Hans Christian 21-11, 21-12 to set up a clash against Korea's Jeon Hyuk Jin. Newly crowned Denmark Open champion Kidambi Shrikant will face 4th-seeded Chinese Shi Yuki. In the women's category, PV Sindhu will face world number 10 Shen Yufei of China. In doubles category, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty defeated Denmark's Konrad Petersen and Mads Pieler 22-20, 12-21, 21-1. In the International Shooting Sport Federation World Cup, ace pistol shooter Jeetu Rai and Pooja Gadkar failed to clear the qualification rounds. Rai, fresh from his gold medal in the air pistol mixed event along with Hina Sidhu, was unable to make it to the finals of the men's 10-meter air pistol and was placed 9th. In the women's 10-meter air rifle, India's only hope Pooja Gadkar also finished 9th and failed to make it to the finals. In tennis, France's Richard Gasquet defeated second-seeded Dominic Thiem of Austria at his home in the Vienna Open. Thiem won the first set, but Gasquet won the second and thrashed Thiem in the final set to clinch the match 4-6, 7-5, 6-1. Gasquet will now face compatriot Lucas Pauli in the quarterfinals. In the Swiss indoors tournament at Basel, France's Adrien Manarino defeated Canada's Denis Shapovalov in the second round of the tournament for 6-6, 6-1, 6-2. The first set was a close match which finished at 6-4 in Shapovalov's favour. However, 7th-seeded Manarino fought back strong to win the next two sets 6-1, 6-2 to set a quarter-final clash against top-seeded Roger Federer. That's it on this newscast. Do stay tuned for the big picture on the other side of the short break.